I'm so glad I'm not a Marvel fan. I used to be a DC comic book fan. I don't know if I can call myself that anymore, but I never was a Marvel fan, and I'm glad that I wasn't because I would be ashamed to call myself that right now. I mean, what they're doing to the comic books is astonishing. If you go on Twitter and you can see what some of these comic book writers write, you would get why they're doing what they're doing. They actually say they're not trying to write good comics. They're actually saying they're not trying to put out a good product. What they are trying to do is to make a name for themselves and piggyback on the comic book as a vector. Basically, what they want to do is like they want to throw various ideas around, and hopefully something sticks and it makes it into the New York Times, and then someone at Netflix or Hollywood picks them up and they get a lot of money. That's literally what they're trying to do. They're not interested in selling comic books at all. And you can see this because there's no more creativity. I mean, they're not trying something new. What they are trying to do, though, is to milk previous made characters. And instead of like trying to have like an interesting reimagining of the character or trying to figure out some good story for the character, no. What they are doing is they're simply race swapping the character or making the character homosexual, and they think that, okay, job done, creativity done. We've managed to come up with a completely new concept. And the concepts that they're doing is also awful. I mean, if you look at Captain America, okay, like apparently they're going to have many Captain Americas now because that's what they're doing. They're just milking something that is popular. They're not inventing something else. And the new Captain America, okay, is like an American Indian. All right, why does he look like shit? That's my question. Like, what, did he not have the money to afford a proper costume? Like, this is awful. Imagine fighting crime looking like that. I mean, seriously, imagine going into a comic book store and on one hand you have this American comic book that has this on it, and literally on the next shelf, probably for a cheaper price, you have a Japanese comic that looks like this. Which one are you going to pick? I mean, I don't even think I need to explain why this is poor marketing. And I'm not even against the idea of having, like, okay, well, I actually am against the idea of having a Captain America, anything besides Steve Rogers. I don't care. Even if it's another white guy, I don't fucking care. Like, Captain America is Steve Rogers. Stop trying to milk it. Like, make new superheroes. Create new things. And make them popular on their own. But no, apparently not. Like a comic book that features Storm from X-Men would be a lot more entertaining than what they're doing. They already have like superhero teams like X-Men. Just make like take an X-Men, okay, like Storm, and make an individual comic issue based on her. Why is that so hard? I know, instead like they're trying to milk it. So it's not the fact that, okay, fine, let's say that you want to put Captain America as an American Indian. Perfect. Why does he have to look like shit? I mean, Capcom, Street Fighter has T-Hawk, which is stereotypical as fuck, but at least he looks marketable. Like, if I am a teenager and I see a comic book that looks like T-Hawk, I'll probably buy it, because that looks badass. Meanwhile, this Captain America clearly has skipped leg day, didn't he? I mean, look at his legs. It's like, okay, he probably skipped a lot of things, but like the legs are the most obvious, and they're standing out. And you know how progressives always complain about women's clothing? It's like, oh, it's not practical for crime fighting. It's like, oh, why does Power Girl have cleavage? It's like, when she flies, don't a lot of insects go into her boobs? I'm not kidding, like they actually make these arguments. How the fuck are you supposed to fight crime in sandals or whatever traditional attire this is? I'm pretty sure that there's a name for it. I just don't know it. I'm pretty sure it's like Indian culture specific, but like, come on, it's not used for crime fighting. Okay, like, let's stop kidding ourselves. You wouldn't want to kick someone with these. Like, why not wear a boot? It adds a little bit more impact, a little bit of oomph to the kick. And then you have another Captain America. I like to call him Captain China. Yeah, like they market him as being homosexual. Like, who cares? I care more about the fact that he's got a red star tattooed on his neck. This is communist paraphernalia. I guess it kind of makes sense, it's the subversion of the United States. Right, like, out with the old, in with the new. Right? It's a perfect, maybe this is the correct Captain America. With the basso haircut, unkept clothing, because he's probably poor. Wealth disparity. He probably lives in California now, doesn't he? I don't get, like, the hate symbol on his arm, though. Like, this should have to go. I don't like seeing, like, this hate symbol on his shoulder. Oh my god, it's very like a lot of people actually defend the idea of the Red Star because they're like, oh no, it's not communism. Like, man, go on Wikipedia and look for the 5-star. You know, it's like putting let's say you would put a swastika on his arm and people would be like, oh, hold on a little bit, that's not a swastika, that's the Buddhist symbol. Do you think it would fly? Would it fly? No, but the problem is that most of these people don't really think that communism is an issue. Like, they're at Marvel. The only time, no, I take it back. The only time Marvel rails against communism and talks about how much they love capitalism is when people pirate their comics. I don't know why anyone would do that. Like, I don't know just how many blows to the head you would need in order to pirate a Marvel comic. That is horrible. Don't do it. Like, why are you wasting your time? You know, like, the internet could do better without that bandwidth. But my point is, like, that's the only time they freak out. Other than that, they always talk about socialism. They always talk about sharing the wealth. They always talk about unionizing. But the moment they hear that someone is pirating their comic books, they freak the fuck out. Which is something that I don't understand. Like, again, like, that they making the claim that they just want to get into Hollywood. That these comic books aren't really for you. You know, like, they're for them to set a name for themselves. To show how progressive and diverse and rich they are. It's like, hey, you know, like, what if the comic is being pirated by a person of color that can't afford the comic any other way? It's kind of funny. Like, this is what I find absolutely hilarious, because I talked about this with Ethan Van Sciver, which actually managed to sell a comic, one issue, made $1 million, okay? But he's a hateful bigot. He's a Republican. And I talked about piracy with him. And he's like, yeah, you know, people are going to pirate my book. I mean, it's inevitable. He would prefer it if not, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like advertisement. Like, you know, maybe someone gets to see the book that way and they get interested and they buy. Like, nothing he can do. He doesn't freak the fuck out about it, right? But the people at Marvel, like, if you remember last year or 2 years ago when the controversy was, they were freaking out about it like never before. You know, because some people were pirated. How much do you think they would pirate this crap? Like, I would be shocked if people even actually read it. Like, once the torrent is down, they'll probably keep it minimized there, not to open it ever again. Honestly, I will judge you if you're pirating. Like, normally, I don't judge people, but like, if you're pirating this crap, I am judging you. Alright? Not because of the illegality of it. It's like, if you're going to commit a crime, can you at least do it with something that's worthwhile? Like, why are you doing this? Why are they might actually think that their shit would sell. No, seriously, like, if you look at the countries that pirate the most are probably Eastern Europe, like Russia, stuff like that. If a Russian wants to buy a comic book, do you honestly think that he can purchase it from a store or something? Like, I'm telling you, at least in Romania, not many stores sell comic books, especially not Marvel. Like, the store owners aren't crazy. They don't want to go out of business. If you go buy something, you might find some manga, actually. Like, that might sell. Man, like, what is wrong with these people? Why can't they be creative? Like, remember, like their idea of creativity is that, okay, if we can turn Thor into a woman, then more women are going to buy comic books because I guess women cannot empathize with men. But if you look at reality, there was this comic book called Sandman, like an entire series made by the comic book pros. And that was very popular with the ladies. Wasn't very popular with the teenage boys, but was hyper popular with the ladies. Do you know why? Same reason why women like manga. A lot of the stuff women like, from my personal experience, okay, like, you need to get a marketing team in order to figure it out, but my personal experience, like, most women don't like violence. Like, whenever I try to get a girlfriend and tell her to, like, try to read something that I like, a comic book, or try to get her to play video games, they're not interested in violence. They don't like violence. What they do like seems to be comedy, romance, things that bore the living shit out of me. But the girlfriends that I was with were enjoying that. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's like, hey, it's different preferences. Why do we all need to like the exact same? So why can't you just market some comic books for men where you show big tits and hyper violent stuff, and then you market something for women where you have things like Sandman? Like, what you're trying to do to please everyone pleases no one. And that's the issue. But again, like, you need actual talented people in order to do this. And I'm not even against the fact that they politicize comic books. It's like, fine, make propaganda if you want. Like, turn the comic books into a vector to indoctrinate and social engineer society. But at least do it properly. Like, look at how the communists were doing propaganda in Eastern Union. It was actually good. You know, Eastern Europe. Sorry, it was actually good. It was actually a lot of movies and music and art that the communists did was marketable. People liked it. This is shit. No one likes it. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the comment section.